Hey everybody, this is Angelica. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be playing with the new Icing Holiday Wrap Collection from the Greetery. This release came out today. It is now available in the Greetery shop and I will link that down below. First, let's take a look at the entire release, starting with this sequin mix. This is crystal sequin mix, and it's going to make beautiful shaker cards. There's also 3 new paper ribbon rolls. This one is pearl. There's also rose gold and yellow gold. Now let's take a look at the dies, starting with Frost Buds. There's also Crystal Charms and Crystal Charms Jumbo. The new ribbon maker is Crystal Strand. The Nordic Tree and Nordic Birds dies are so beautiful. I had so much fun creating. I think the tree is actually my favorite in this release. There are 3 new adorable characters in the Hey Honeycomb suite, and then there is a coordinating Hey Honeycomb holiday stamp set. This die set is the Ornamental Tag Die set, and then to finish off the collection, we have the Inside and Out, Holiday Tags, Red Rubber Stamp, Coordinating Die, and Coordinating Stencil. We're going to start with the Holiday Tags, and I've already put the stamp in my MISTI. This stamp is longer than most stamps, so my panel is 6 inches long, and I stamped it with brown ink. This is dough ink from Pink Fresh Studio. I'm also going to ink blend a little bit of Warm Buff, which is a lighter brown, over the stamped sentiments, and I used the coordinating stencil to add the ink. Once I was done stenciling, I used the coordinating die to die cut this panel. Now when I put the die on top of the panel, I did make sure that the little tag holes were at the top of the tags, and then I ran that through my die cut machine and it cut all 8 tags at once. And I love these tags. They're so elegant. The font is beautiful, and I just love them. I think the bottom right, the to and from tag, is my favorite one. Okay, so now we're going to move on to these 3 die sets. This is the Ornamental Tag, the Crystal Charms, and Crystal Charms Jumbo. So I ran all of those through the die cut machine. I die cut white cardstock, and now I'm going to color them really quickly with Distress Oxide inks. Once the inking was done, I did a quick layout on a mini Slimline card base and decided I wanted to use the crystals to build a really pretty, almost like a starburst background for the sentiment to sit on. Now, talking about the sentiment, I used one of the Inside and Out holiday tags for my sentiment, and then I built a frame around it with the Ornamental Tag Die set. I finished getting the rest of the crystals onto the card base using thin foam squares, and then I'm going to finish the card with the sentiment. And again, I'm going to be using foam squares to attach that for some dimension. The light gray ink that I used on the crystals was really pretty, but a little flat. So I decided to pull out a shimmer pen, and I added a lot of shimmer to the crystals and to the yellow bow. The last thing I did to finish this card was add a small, simple metallic gold jewel to the center of the bow. And here is the final picture. Look at the shimmer of those crystals. I'm so glad I pulled out a shimmer pen. I just think they're so beautiful. Now we are going to jump into the next project, and this time I'm using the Frost Buds die set. I've already die cut a really rich chocolate brown metallic paper and pearl white metallic paper, glued the pieces together, and then I attached the bouquet to a tone-on-tone background. This was totally inspired by Betsy. She has done this quite often with dark, like an evergreen, and I think it's such a beautiful, rich background. So I'm using Concord and Knight's Rainforest cardstock for my card and for my card base and background. For the sentiment, I'm going to use another Inside and Out holiday tag, and I topped that tag with the really cute Ornamental Tag bow, the bow that's in the Ornamental Tag die set. And actually, I die cut it twice and layered the red cardstock on top of each other for a little bit of dimension. And of course, added a small jewel to the center of the bow. And here's a close-up. I love this red and the green together. It's so rich. I am in love with this card. Now we are going to move on to my daughter's favorite part of this release, and that is the 3 new Hey Honeycomb die sets. So we have a snowman, a polar bear, and a penguin. These are super easy to put together, and I did decide to die cut white cardstock, ink up the die cuts with distressed oxide inks, and now I'm going to stencil the eyes onto the characters. So I'm going to put the die over the character, each character, and I'm using a black pencil just to quickly color in the eyes. So you're going to use the die set or the die like a stencil. On the back of each packaging for the Hey Honeycomb characters, you will find an illustration to help you put them together. And again, it's super easy. I just used a tiny little bit of glue to get those small pieces on. Now we're going to move on to the interactive part of these little characters, and that is their bellies. I used the Hey Honeycomb Basics die set to die cut the circle and the half circle. I lined up my stamps in my MISTI and then stamped the sentiments with black ink. Now I'm going to get my white honeycomb ball ready. I cut the string off and then I glued the half circle onto the honeycomb. I took the full circle and glued that right onto the snowman and then attached the honeycomb. And then the last thing that I needed to do was add a little sticker onto the snowman, well, onto all of the characters. And that little sticker is going to help the honeycomb stay open when the person who's going to get this wants to keep it open. So they would just peel off the sticker, the top of this die cut I just glued onto the polar bear, and then they'll open up the belly and the belly will stay open. This is so cute, and these new characters are absolutely adorable. There's a lot more honeycomb dies to choose from over in the Greetery shop, and I will link that down in the description. Now I want to make a card with that adorable snowman. So I am going to make a background first with the Frosty Flakes stencil. This stencil has been in my collection for many years. I have used it so many times. I especially love this part of the stencil, the corners. It just makes beautiful backgrounds. The second stencil I will be using, but first I'm going to splatter some white paint. I'm using my white luster pen from scrapbook.com just to add a little bit of snow to the background. And now I'm going to use that second stencil from this set to stencil another background onto a white Postal Frames background. I like the way that it looked a little tilted, so I'm going to keep it like that and then add the snowman. I mean, this was a really simple, quick and simple card to put together. It turned out so adorable. My daughter, she loves this card so much, so I have a feeling it's going to be in her stocking Christmas morning. The last die set that we are going to look at is the Nordic Tree die set. I think I mentioned at the beginning of the video that this was one of my favorites. This is my favorite item in the collection. I just think these trees are so beautiful. It is a large tree, so it's going to be beautiful on presents. I decided to not use these on presents. I did mine in a different way. But the first thing I did was the die cutting. So I die cut 3 different pink cardstocks and a brown tree trunk. There are instructions on the back of the packaging on how to put the tree together. I folded the pieces in half and then I started with the largest part, which is the bottom of the tree. I slid that down the trunk, kind of maneuvered it around the little T parts of the trunk, and just got them all into position. Now you can use a foam dot if you want to keep the tree from not moving. I actually really liked how it looked moving, so I did not put foam on the tree. I wanted the tree to dance because I put this tree, well, I made several of them, and I put them on my on our basement Christmas tree. Our tree is very eclectic. So with all the different types of ornaments that we have on the tree, this paper Nordic tree actually fit in perfectly. For it to become an ornament, I did decide to back it with an earring pendant. I found these on Amazon. I actually use them for other ornaments that I make, and I'm using a pretty heavy-handed glue to attach the paper to the metal. I don't think I've ever glued paper to metal before, and I didn't know what adhesive to use. I didn't think my glue would be strong enough, so that's why I picked that adhesive. And don't mind me peeking in here. Just need to make sure I got that pendant on correctly and straight. There is a star that's in the die set, and I die cut yellow cardstock with it. I added the die cut onto, or I backed it with 3mm foam adhesive and attached the star to the tree, and that kind of hides the little hook. Here's the final picture of the Nordic tree. I love it in pink, you know, I love my pink. I couldn't help it. So that is going to finish today's video. I will have links to all of the products I use down in the description. I will also link Betsy's blog. You definitely want to go over to her blog. She's got so much inspiration and full details on all of the products in this collection. That is all that I have for today. I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me. Take care, friends.